going to read a few things here, and then I want to ask you some questions here. So I want to say dollar's worth. I'm going to pick and choose some stuff here of what I have in front of me to try to make it speed it up from where it should be at, where it would be at, I guess. So looking at these things, what is a dollar worth? So I'm going to go by 1913. That's when the Federal Reserve got in place. That's when it was official. And the dollar, what a dollar could buy then, 1913, was 20 Hershey chocolate bars. A dollar. 20 Hershey chocolate bars. And so the equivalent to that, the purchasing power of a dollar, was $26.14. And these might be a little off because where you're at, stuff might be a little higher priced, that kind of stuff, but this is on average. And so 1929, we're talking 16 years later, a dollar, one single dollar, could buy 10 rolls of toilet paper. And the purchasing power of a dollar then was $15.14. And then, like I said, the numbers could be off. It could be lower or higher, depending on where you're living. And so 1933, when they took the gold from its citizens, FDR did, and it was illegal to hold, and then they revalued it. Back then, a dollar, purchasing power of a dollar, was 19 cents, or $19.91. $19.91. Purchasing power that the dollar had back then, which means you could buy $19.91 worth of things today for a price of a dollar back then. Those things that are equivalent. So what you could have bought back then, 1933, was 10 bottles of beer, is an example. You could have bought back then for a dollar. Today, that dollar doesn't buy you squat towards that, really. And then we got 1953, the purchasing power of a dollar then was $9.69. And that's, you could buy 10 bags of pretzels for that price. So now let's think about this. Let's not go too far. 1913, that dollar had purchasing power of $26.14 compared to today. That's how much you could buy $1 of goods and services in 1913 versus today. And then you go from 1913, $26.14, to 1964, $8.35. Well, that's, 50 years, basically, for it to drop. I mean, it got cut not in half, it got cut more than a half. It got cut down to a quarter of what its value was, even a little less probably. And so then you're looking at, like, let's go with 2008. We can go with that. The purchasing power of a dollar in 2008 was $1.20 compared to today. So in 2008, you could buy something that costs $1.20 for a dollar. We're just talking purchasing power. That today, you could have paid $1 for it in 1920. Today, it would cost you $1.20. So in 2008, what you bought for $1 today would cost you $1.20. Maybe that's a better way to look at it. So back in 1913, what you paid for $1, you used $1 to buy, today would cost you $26.14. It's a better way to look at it. So then we'll go to, let's go to 1933. Back in 1933, what you could buy for $1 then, today would cost you $19.91. Why? Why is that? I just got those little figures. I just want, why is that? Well, they say they need to print money. They say we need to have inflation because the population's growing. Okay, well, if we believe them, we want to take them for fact, take them for the truth. Why does that mean that all our value is going down of the currency we're holding? Why is it costing us more to buy stuff now than it did back then? Well, that's because you're inflating the money. Okay, yep, I got that. You're doing that, but why do you need to do that if there's more population? Wouldn't it be if you had more people, the things would cost the same amount Or how it used to be before the Federal Reserve, things would be cheaper as time goes by, sort of like electronics. Electronics are expensive when they first come out because of new technology, whether that's TVs or computers or whatever. But then as time goes, they get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. That's the way everything used to be before the Fed, before their forced inflation that they said was a good thing. Well, it's only a good thing for them. For them, the federal government, the Fed, all those private banks that own the Fed, the 6 private banks that own the Fed, that has nothing to do with the government. It's not part of the government at all. The politicians, and all of those cronies and all of their friends, family members, and all the ones they choose to be at the table of this theft. I mean, as they're counterfeiting digits and currency, that's what happens. You and I get poorer and poorer. And the most poor of us out there, they're the ones that are worse off. They're the ones that really get shafted. They're the ones that really lose out. I mean, they suffer horribly compared to you and I in just the middle class. I mean, they're the ones that are the worst of it. And the people riding high, the guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen riding high, the politicians, again, our servants, again, the people who serve us, we're their bosses. They're the ones allowing the theft from the Fed, the Federal Reserve, those 6 private banks. They're allowing this so the 6 private banks can get by. They can take all this counterfeit money, funds, currency, whatever you want to call it, and purchase stuff with it as they get larger and larger, as they accrue more and more wealth in the form of assets, as they take away your ability and my ability to acquire assets and build our wealth through assets to hold our purchasing power. And the poorest among us, like I said, they don't even have a chance at all. The people at the top, the people allowing this, are the ones that say, well, we care about them down there, and we care about you and I. They don't do squat for it. It's all lies. It's a TV show. It's a play. It's theater. It's WWE. That's what it is. Nothing wrong with WWE, but it's a show. So are the politicians. So is the government. So is the bank. The difference between WWE and the show we got going on with politics and the Fed, these 6 private banks, that kind of stuff, the difference is people give willingly their money to watch WWE, to go to WWE events, to purchase WWE materials, merchandise. They give their money willingly for that. This other show, this other theater that is going on, this other Broadway spectacle that they call politics and the Fed and that kind of stuff, that's stolen from us. That's stolen from us by taxes and inflation, by the way they're, illegally counterfeiting money and digits. That's what they're doing. They're doing stuff that if you and I did it, we'd be in prison for the rest of our lives. Heck, if we don't want to be involved in them doing this, if we don't want to be involved in their whole scheme of their theft and their whole scheme of their counterfeiting, if we don't want to be part of it, they'll put us in prison for the rest of our lives. And we're not even doing it. We just don't want to be part of it. So how is that? I'll go back to the first question, or not the first question, but the first statement. They're our servants. So you and I have the power to end this. And the private banks, they only survive because they're allotted and they're given that power from our servants. So, I just want you to think about that. And think about where we were and where we are as far as money and finances and currency and whatever else you want to call it that. But then ask yourself, would you rather be early or late? And what do I mean by that? Would you rather be early to saving, to buying, to preserving your wealth, to preparing? Would you rather be late? How about medical insurance? Let's use that. Would you rather be early for medical insurance, or would you rather have it and you have it? You've always had it. You paid for it through your work, through your employer. If you're self-employed, you've always paid for it. Whatever. Yeah, it's a bummer, and I use it maybe once every 5 years. You say, if I break an arm or I cut myself or something weird goes on or whatever, but I still pay for this, and it's not cheap. It's horribly expensive, which is a fault of the insurance being involved, and I'll do a video on that. Or would you rather be late? Because if you're not paying it and something catastrophic happens, you get diagnosed, a scary diagnosis with something, cancer or heart disease or something else that just out of the blue happens. Or you fall off a ladder, or have internal bleeding or whatever, and now you don't have insurance, medical insurance. What are you going to do? Wouldn't you rather have been early, been paying that? Because now I'm sort of covered. They'll sort of take care of it, and I won't be indebted for the rest of my life. Whereas if you didn't have that, now you're going to be indebted for the rest of your life if you can get the right care for that. How about a house or apartment insurance, fire insurance? Well, you can't get insurance when your house is on fire if you've never had a house insurance. Or if you don't have renter's insurance with your apartment, you can't get insurance if your apartment's on fire. Same thing. Your things are gone. See you, bye. It's not coming back. There, would you rather be early or late? We're talking about inflation, and would you rather be early or late? Now, we're going through inflation, and it's in my opinion, it's the beginning of hyperinflation. I think we've just been dabbling there for a little while, a few weeks, months. Now, you are almost too late, but you still got time. Would you rather be early or late? Now, do you want to be the one to say, hey, I had all this wealth, if you want to call it wealth, I had all these stocks and bonds, I had all this money in my bank accounts, and I was set. This is what I was going to do. I was going to retire. I was going to buy a vacation home. I was going to do X, Y, Z. I was going to pay for this, and all of a sudden, what happens? And I'm not saying this is a true scenario, but what happens if someone audits, Fort Knox? Fort Knox is supposed to hold all our gold, right? And that gold used to back our currency. It no longer does, but there's still something there saying, hey, I still trust this. I still trust this Federal Reserve note because of what it was. And it used to be, still is, for the most part, the standard around the world. It's going to be less and less. People are shying away from it. If they say, hey, where's all the gold? Where's all the stuff that was stored here? If that was discovered, people that aren't paying attention start paying attention. Like within a second, a heartbeat. Those dollars, those digits in your bank account, all that stuff is going to zero for the most part. I mean, we're a fraction of what it is. If you have $1 million in your bank account, it might be so bad as you could probably purchase something that's worth $1,000 with that million overnight. And it doesn't have to be the Fort Knox scenario. It just has to be a bunch of people are saying, hey, I'm seeing all this printing, all this digit creation, and people aren't wanting to hold on to this cash anymore. I try to give them cash, they don't want it. They want to trade, they want barter. They would rather have gold or silver or something else for big ticket items. Why is that? If that starts happening, and they won't take the digits out of my account for it, or they want 10 times the digits, because how much they have to pay for things. That time is coming, and it will be even worse. It's going to continue. There's no going back, because they're not turning back. So I just want to say, would you rather be early or late? I guess I would rather be years early than a second too late. And we're right there on the cusp where you might be late any time now. I'm not trying to scare you. I want to make you think. I want you to react. I want you to say, hey, seriously, what am I doing? I'm buying all these coffees every day, or I'm I'm driving all these places I don't need to drive to, or I have all this stuff in my bank accounts, or I have all these stocks, or I have all this. I've always wanted to own some land, or I've always wanted to buy a second home, or I've always wanted to pay off my car. I've always wanted to pay off this. I've always wanted to pay off all my credit cards. I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to help my child with this. I've always wanted to. Now's the time before those digits that you have and those dollars that you have are worthless and no one wants them. And I know people in America, they cannot comprehend that. Yes, anyone in Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina, they know exactly how it is because they've been through it. They have. And actually, Venezuela's going through it now. Zimbabwe is, right there. I mean, it's happening now. Real time at different places around the world. And you got to realize we're all connected now. There's no separation of countries and their currencies. We're all connected. I mean, there's no other way, really, out besides getting out. So I just want to say, look into it and give it a hard look and maybe act on it. I'm not telling you what to do, but I feel I don't know what the people are going to do that don't have an extra $5 a week, an extra $10 a week. I don't know what they're going to do. I really, really fear for them, and I hurt for them, because it's not their fault in most cases. But if you do have the ability, $5-10 a week, think about it. Start making it happen. You want an asset, because as soon as this currency goes, you might have nothing. And assets don't just have to be gold and silver. Those are the main two, I guess, worldwide that's recognized. But there's ammunition, there's seeds. Seeds are going to be huge, I believe. Seeds that are untouched, that are not GMO seeds, that kind of stuff, those will be huge for gardening, that kind of stuff. I guess just any storable food, that kind of stuff. Skills in that nature. Canning, anything like that. Hard skills. Mechanic. Computers, electronics, plumbing. I know I've gone over all this before, but I don't know what else to say. I just keep saying the same things. But I'm really worried about what's going to happen if people are not consciously. You don't have to be full bore prepared at all. That'd be great, absolutely. But at least if you're just starting to get prepared, your mindset is there. So you know how to react to a certain angle, to a certain level. So I don't know what else to say. I know I've said this before, and it's going on and on. I'll cut it short, as short as I can. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, stay vigilant. Protect yourself, your family, protect your health, and protect your wealth.